All right, Nick Scheibele here with this next episode of the 5 Minute Financial Plan. Here with Ben Fath, and today we're going to talk about 529 plans.
Yep.
Ben, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think we're just going to kind of piggyback off the last episode. And obviously, we're coming up on 529.
yeah,
So, thought
yeah,
it'd be a good topic. It's relevant. And it's always good to talk about ways to save for your kids and maybe some grandkids, anyone in the family.
yeah.
So,
No, absolutely right. And this is one that's been around for a long time as far as savings plans go, but the rules have become much more friendly to the
hmm
saver as far as ways you can use it to make it continue to be tax advantaged. There's more and more uh, things that are available to spend this money on, and so
hmm
that makes it, I think it makes it probably even a better resource than it was even just a handful of years ago.
hmm
And so we'll touch on some of those things, and then maybe talk about one or two other ways that people can save for for college. Technically, probably the one thing that's always out there is like, well, what if my kid doesn't go to college, or what if
Yep.
they get a scholarship and I don't need the money? So those are some of the things that we'll hit on. But I guess to start, what are the primary benefits of a 529 plan?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like Nick said, that's obviously one of the questions we get a lot. It's that how's my tax? So,
Yeah,
how's the tax going in and out? And then, like you said, what can I use it for? So the first one, we'll tackle the first one first. So this is to fund the 529. You put after tax money in, so think money you've already paid tax in, typically from your checking account, whatever source. Put it in the account, it grows tax deferred, and then if you use it for qualified educational expenses, it doesn't get taxed at that use. So that's kind of how the account is taxed itself. And then with that being said, I think it'd be good to go over what can you use the money for.
yeah,
So it says educational expenses, but like Nick said, it's opened up a lot.
yeah.
So
No, you're absolutely right. And so it's, so the obvious are the qualified educational expenses: tuition, room, board, books, supplies, equipment that could be used in college. So computers are one of the things
mm,
that it can be used for. Internet access, even. I mean, really anything that can be used um, for education. Colleges, universities, vocational schools, even a lot of international universities are able to use these. Certified trade schools
that's a new
accept
one.
these funds, which is relatively new. So pretty broad range of things. There are a lot of things that can fall under room board. So the room and board one's kind of interesting. What if I buy a house, right? Can I use this for, money down to buy a house or make mortgage payments? And technically, no. It can be there's an amount that can be used. Every school's got an amount that they use for room and board. And even if you're not living on campus, you can still get that amount for off campus living, but you can't use it to purchase a
hmm
home. So now what some of the other uses that have opened up more recently, for a 529.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say you use this 529, or maybe your child or grandchild says, what, school isn't for me. I don't didn't touch any of the money. There's a couple of things you can do in that point going forward. The first one is you can actually convert up to $35,000 to a Roth IRA for whoever the 529 was open for. The one stipulation to that is, the limit of 35,000. That's as of right now, and then also the account has to be open for 15 years or longer. So depending on when you open it, you might have to wait a little bit to do that. But in our eyes, I mean, that's a great option. A Roth is obviously a great tool. I'm sure we'll talk about those in later episodes. But the second option is you could also change the beneficiary. So let's say, I have a son or whoever, I open 529 for them. They don't use it. I can actually take that money and change who the beneficiaries are, change who can use the money. So, change it to another child,
Mhm.
change it to a grandchild, whoever it might be. But those are kind of the two options that you can do with the 529 if you don't end up using the money.
Mhm.
So, and then obviously you can take money out, but there's some penalties or some
Yeah.
taxes that you have to pay.
Yeah.
So we kind of lean towards those first two options if possible.
Yeah, for sure. And those are massive opportunities. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
almost to the point too where you consider, maybe if you had the ability using cash and doing the Roth conversion, if if it works, you really set your
Mhm.
child up to be in good shape. Uh, Two other areas that you can use it: K-12, private
Yep.
K-12, you can use it, and you can use up to that's $10,000 a year that you can use for K-12, and then you can actually use it to repay student loans. Again, that one's up to $10,000 in total. So you can
Yep.
use now. What's the benefit of that? Hard to say, but you never know, right? I mean, I think one of the areas that, like you mentioned, is maybe you use a part of one for
Mhm.
one child. They don't need the whole thing. You change the beneficiary. There's still some student loan debt out there. Maybe one school is more expensive than the other. Whatever the
Yep.
case is, you can use up to $10,000 to pay student loan debt. So,
Mhm.
K-12 school, student loan debt. So as you can see, it's just really broad. There's just much more uses than just
Mhm.
paying for school. Now for these 529 plans, which has made them, very attractive.
Yeah.
I
Very
guess I would
attractive.
say. So the other part is who can fund it, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you think about who can put the money in. It's pretty broad.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you said who can fund it, I mean, like you said, essentially anyone can fund it. So
Hmm.
anyone can put money in, their grandparents, uncles, aunts, whoever it may be. And it might be a great way to gift money or gift some sort of present other than toys or
Yeah,
whatever it might be. It's
yeah.
another great thing to fund. And like kind of like you said, you might be wondering who can open the account.
Hmm.
So anyone can, any parent or legal adult can open the account, and it's for the benefit of whoever the account may be for.
Hmm.
So just keep that in mind. The one thing I will say is it's not once the child or whoever the account is open for turns 18, it's still not their money.
Hmm.
So whoever opened the account actually still owns the account throughout its lifetime. So that's one kind of different thing.
Yeah,
That's something we discuss. Some people like that, some people don't. But if you don't like that the child or whoever it may be doesn't get the money 18, there's other options to kind
yeah,
of save money as well.
yeah.
So,
No, and I mean, I think that control
hmm
can be a big one. I
yeah,
mean, that's the
yep,
one where, with some of the other options that we'll talk about in a minute, um, it can be a drawback is the fact that it just
hmm
turns over a kid. So in a 529, the owner, the parent, the grandparent, whoever opens the account, they maintain that ownership until they decide,
yep,
whether they want to have, a successor owner be owner or change the beneficiary, whatever the case may be. But that control is a big one. Um, I guess when we think about other ways to save for college or not for college, just to save for our
hmm
kids for future use, what are some of the things that can be done? Uh, what are other avenues to save?
yeah, yeah. So there's a couple different things. The first one that kind of comes to mind is an UTMA,
Yep.
and essentially it's just a savings or investment account for a child. So kind of like what Nick said, you put money in there. Once they turn 18, it's theirs, so they can use it for whatever they want. Another option as well, and this is probably for when your kids get a little bit older, is a Roth IRA. So a kid can open a Roth IRA as long as they show earned income.
Hmm.
So whatever their income is up to the annual contribution limit, they can put into a Roth. So that's another great saving avenue. Once your kids start working, maybe they get a job in high school, whatever it may be. But that might be another way to save, for kids for retirement.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And some people even use their Roth IRA because you can take out basis
Mm-hmm.
without penalty before 59 and a half.
Yep.
So you could theoretically use the basis in your Roth IRA, which is a feasible thing, for a lot of people, and use that to pay your kids' college education as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it takes a little bit from your retirement, but if it's something that you've been working on for a long, long time and have good amount of money in there, you can use a Roth IRA for college funding too. It's all about kind of creating that plan and find out what works best for you, finding out where
Mm-hmm.
you want to maintain
Yeah.
control. You mentioned, up my accounts, and that at 18 that it turns
Mm-hmm.
over the kid. That's one where sometimes it's not it's not that you don't trust the person that you're opening the account for, but sometimes you want to help them, not get in trouble on their own,
Yeah.
right? You kind of put the guardrails in place for our kids because at 18, I don't know, when I was 18, I'm not sure that If I'd have got a chunk of money, I would have made all the best
Yeah.
decisions with it. But sometimes you're just trying to put the right guardrails in
Yeah.
place so that you set them up for the most
Hmm.
success possible.
Yeah. And sometimes it might make sense to do a blend of both too. So you don't have to do one or the other.
Right on.
You can combine all of them. So it's
Yeah.
just really up to what the parents think the kids want or need or whatever, whatever they end up deciding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And like anything else, um, this is a part of your plan, right? I mean,
mhm,
I think that that's the biggest thing is whether it's college savings, whether it's UPMA accounts, whether it's using a Roth, it makes sure it's a part of your plan, right?
mhm,
And so using, planning tools and making sure that it fits what your future looks like, making sure that that it's not, messing with your income and everybody has different goals. Like, there is some benefit to teaching kids how to pay back debt, right? That's
mhm.
part of it. It's just controlling that. Maybe it's just a
Yeah.
little amount and you've got that, you've got that egg to turn over to them at some point in time to take care of it. Or maybe it's, hey, I didn't have any student loan debt. I
Mhm.
want to make sure my kid doesn't have any student loan debt moving
Yeah.
forward. So everybody's plan's different. What works for somebody's different all the time too. So
Yeah.
it's always just coming up with what works best.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else on this front that we need to talk about and cover today? Is there any other pieces of it?
Not that I can think of right now. I think that was great. We kind of hit all the points. Last episode we kind of had another way to save for kids that
Yeah.
that just opened up. So I guess the bottom line is there's lots of ways to save for kids. It's just a matter of what you guys think they'll
Yeah.
need in the future. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, most of us like our kids, I think.
I
Yeah.
I
I
would think
hope.
so.
Yeah. And so,
Depends on the day,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, making sure that we're doing things to set our kids up for success, we think is a pretty
Mhm.
important part of the planning process. So, with that in mind, make sure you stay tuned for the next episode of the 5 Minute Financial Plan. And thanks for joining us again.